So if this QR code goes to like our link tree that has tons of info on it, so if you want to like see us or like an Instagram account, so if you want to scan that, it's also the same one that's on this board, so if you miss it. My name is Andrew Francis. I have a second grader at Parkside, and so we are about 3.5 years ago or so, our family became kind of primarily bike commuters because I work from home and we got rid of a second car that we were never using, and in that time we've ridden like 6,000 miles around there. And so the genesis of how this started was I got like voluntold into doing it, as any good PTA will do. When I reached out and said, hey, it's our first year here. Is anybody doing anything for Walking World School Day? And they said, sounds like you are. And so we put together a small amount like I have over there, and just said, hey, we're going to try this out for Walking World School Day. If anybody's interested, there was a large contingent of parents already dropping off by e-bike and stuff. And so we thought, there's some demand here. We'll be happy if 20 kids are in the school. And I think that first Walking World School Day, I think it counted something like 30 bikes left at the school. I'm like, this is great. And so everybody had such a good time. We said, all right, we'll try to do this once a month for this first year. This was 2 years ago. Last year in the summer, kind of just made the executive decision of like, we're just going to do this every Friday. And one of the main reasons we did that was it became really hard to, are we riding this week? Is this our once a month kind of situation? Yeah. Parents had to think about it. It wasn't built into their schedules. And then if it was like bad weather, it was raining or it was cold in the winter, it felt like a really big deal to have to cancel because then we had to wait a whole other month. Yeah. Or we had to move it to a week that people weren't expecting on. So it's just like, we're riding every Friday. And so that way we, if it's raining on Friday morning and people don't want to ride, whatever, they show up next week. It's not a big deal to miss one. So for our map, this is Grant Park, Atlanta, Ormwood Park. School's right in the middle. And so pretty much every kid is within like a 2-mile bike ride to school. Not all of those 2 miles are created equal when it comes to hills or routing or whatever, but in general, if a kid wanted to ride to school, they could figure out a way to get to school within 20 minutes on a bike. And so one of the things you talked about earlier was like parents have they're worried about a lot of infrastructure challenges. So like we do have some of that. I-20 cuts our district. Like there are kids that live up here, but I-20s are here, so they have to cross the interstate somehow. We have an arterial road that runs right through the middle, Boulevard, that is not a safe road to ride on. Thankfully, we're about to have like a road diet with some protected bike lanes going in, so it'll make it better for families. But currently, our routes have to cross that at a light, and we kind of clog traffic. And there's just lots of hilly routes that we have pre-K and kindergarten kids that ride with us, and like they're slow on hills, and it's just part of it. But we also we're set up for success in a couple other ways. The Beltline literally runs through our district, and it splits our district in half. And when our section opens, either late this fall in the winter, whenever the Beltline gets finished, we will have direct access to the school from the Beltline. You will get off on the street, and so many kids will be able to just hop on the Beltline and never interact with neighborhood traffic. We also have some protected bike lanes in a couple of different places, and in general, it's mostly low-speed neighborhood streets, if you want to take them. If you want to ride on bigger roads, you can, but you can get around some of that. So we have some benefits and some challenges, so we kind of have to play around that. Last year, I did this crazy project where I counted bikes locked up at school every single day. So
every day?
Every single day. I mean, there was a few where like I was sick or the kids were sick, so they go to school, or just forgot because I had a meeting at 8 o'clock for work or whatever. But I think I missed less than 10 days total for the entire school year. And I will let you guess which days we were in the bike. So like we call it like we have a little group, the Atlanta Bike Bus group is like organized from all different schools, that we have like a WhatsApp group, and every time we like talk about this, we just call it the bike bus effect. Like not only are the days that we were on the bike bus obvious, these numbers where we were having on just a regular day where we'd have 20 plus bikes locked up never happened before we started the bike bus. It was under 10 every day. And so our average number of bikes on non-bike bus days was probably double what it was before we started it. And then just as our biggest days for the bike bus last year were in the mid to high 50s. And we all like, that was a huge deal for us when we first did this a couple years ago. 20 to 30 was a big deal. And now, compared to this year, today was the first day we had less than 60 bikes locked up at school on a bike bus day. And it's because it's getting darker and it's just like, but we have had over 60 bikes every day until today. So like, this was the first one. You can compare it to a bike to school day last year, and then this year will be somewhere up here. So like, it is sustained growth every year. And it mainly is because it's giving kids and families time and just like a space to safely try something out that they would never do on their own. So the Atlanta Bike Bus Group was the beginning of, because it was the summer of 24. There were 3 schools that were already doing bike bus stuff. And we're all in the same high school cluster, but we weren't really like communicating, we weren't really working together. We just kind of knew each other because everybody that bikes in Atlanta, like you end up running into people like this. And so we said, yeah, let's try to standardize this a little bit so that everyone knows kind of what to expect if they join a bike bus in Atlanta. And so we came up with this idea. Let's call it Atlanta Bike Bus. We kind of ripped off the MARTA logo so it looks cool, and one of our guys designed the logo. But currently, there's 7 APS schools that have them. 5 of them are just regular public schools and 2 charter schools. There are 2 other kind of what I call like affiliated groups. Brookhaven Bike Alliance helps run 2 bike buses up in Brookhaven that we don't really have much to do with. We like communicate with them and talk, but they kind of do their own thing. And then Marietta Bike Bus, they're pretty far away and they kind of do their own thing, but we've talked to them and shared some like free stuff that people have given us with them. And this actually is old, or it is old data at this point, because just today, Tally Elementary in Decatur ran their bike bus officially for the first time. They've been testing out this fall, so they just started. And then a few of us met with some of the PTA at Virginia Highlands yesterday, and they're getting the program started. So basically, there's another school here touching, and another school here touching. So all we have to do is connect this blob, and this whole, basically all of East Atlanta will be running some sort of bike bus program. And our goal is that like we all do it kind of close to the same way. It's not a requirement, but like the expectation of like you just ride every Friday. And so when people are driving around Atlanta, if they see a big group of kids between 7:15 and 7:45 riding around Atlanta, they just know what it is. And the schools that we're all kind of in are kind of what she mentioned is in-town neighborhoods, middle to upper middle class neighborhoods. The districts aren't very big, and so, but all of them have their own unique infrastructure challenges.
Andrew, if I can interrupt for 1 second. So you were talking about East Atlanta. So this is an area that is, you have multiple different kinds of socioeconomic pockets in there, and you have in those pockets, I-20 kind of cutting the entire area off from the rest of Atlanta, essentially, and
the railroad tracks.
Exactly, and the railroad tracks. So it's a really interesting, actually, and really fabulous accomplishment to have the momentum that y'all have established through hard work.
But this year we've been trying to track kind of participation across schools for the 7 schools. Well, this is the 7 that we have running right now. And you can kind of see it runs the gamut. We have 1 school, they consistently have 3 kids, and it's great for those 3 kids. And like, they're gonna keep doing it, and part of their problem is just the way the school is laid out and the routes and stuff. They will grow eventually just because of how roads are changing and development's changing. But like for now, the couple of dads that are doing it with those kids, they're having a blast and like great. That's all that really needs to matter for them. And then we have some other schools that are, in the teens and 20s, and some of that is they're newer or they're smaller schools or just whatever. And then we have some of these bigger schools, like my school, Parkside. We've been doing this for 3 years. People are used to it. Like I had the board up at open house, and I had kindergarten parents show up already knowing what it was and like how it ran. They wanted to get signed up. And I was like, I don't do any work anymore. Like they're seeing the kids doing it. It's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy of like, if you build it, they will come. This is it. And then Drew Charter, which is a very huge charter school, they and is led by one of her coworkers. Their bike bus. They got really organized this year, and this week for the first time, they are now the biggest bike bus, and they've been running for like 4 weeks. And they had like, I don't know, almost 70 kids locked up at school today. So we've been tracking this just so that we know like kind of what kind of impact we have from year to year. And then, so one of the things we did before this conference, we were like, we'd really like to know what families think about this after they participate for a while. So we sent out a survey to all the schools that had been running prior to this year. So like they got a full year or two in the program. So, it was split up pretty proportional to like size or buy-in from parents. Because some of the schools have more parents that ride versus others more kids that ride. Just so this is the schools. And so one of the first questions we asked was like, how long is your commute to school? And we had about 100 responses. And so the data kind of reflects exactly what I would have thought, is that the vast majority of them are riding less than 2 miles to school. So like only 7% is over 2 miles. So that tells us that like these families can easily bike to school, kids or parents. And then one of the other questions we asked was, how often do you participate? Kind of like judging, like how do you prioritize this, or like what are you feeling like? Are you really connected to this, or is it just something you do? And 82% of them said, we ride every week we're here. And like sometimes you're not available, you got a sick kid, or you got to turn in a project, so you got to take a big folding board and that doesn't fit on your bike or whatever. Well, like, if any program has 82% retention every week, that's a wild success. Mm-hmm. And then the other, so like only 4% of them are saying, we don't ride at least twice a month. And if you're running this that is why our numbers almost stay consistent every week, is that these families value it and return every week. And like anecdotally at Parkside, there's probably a group of about 100 kids that I know ride, and I would say 80 of them show up. Like some group of 80 of those 100 kids show up every week. And it might, it changes every week, but I can tell you, after the first couple of weeks of school, we don't see many more new kids because everyone that wants to ride is already riding. And I think one of the things like we worry about when we see this kind of data is like, are these people already biking to school? And when we ask, a lot of the people do, but the majority of them say a bike is not our main mode of transportation to school. So, 44%, and this kind of reflects what I would expect, is a lot of our bike bus families are riding to school already. Or because of the bike bus, they have now started riding to school because they realized, oh, this is easier. I don't want to go sit the car line. And so a lot of people still drive, or they split their time between a bike and a car, or some people walk, or some people do like kind of the park and walk where you're driving up closer to the school, but then still walking. And then a similar story after school, where it's the exact same number or percentage of people who are driving to school before and after school. And then there's some differences in bus and aftercare stuff. But while our audience is like pro bike in general, these are not people that bike 6,000 miles around the city like that. And then, so one of the questions we asked was, what is the biggest challenge for your kids biking school? Like, what's stopping you from letting them bike more? And I had a lot of different answers on there. And some of them are things that we are helping fix by letting them practice on the bike bus. And that's, my kids are just too young. Like, I'm a kindergartner. I don't trust them to get to school without getting lost. And that's fine. By the time they're second grade, if they do this enough, like, they should be able to do that. Or, they just don't have the cycling skills because they aren't a bike commuter. And so like those are the kind of things that we can fix. Or I want them to ride with friends and we don't really know anybody else that rides to school. Well, now they're meeting their neighbors. But the two biggest things that's over 75% selected was either unsafe car drivers or unsafe infrastructure. And it's like, we can't actually fix those, but we can demonstrate the demand for bike infrastructure by doing this. And like one of the like things that we kind of championed is 2 years ago for the like spring bike to school day, whatever the one in May is called. We borrowed like 150 cones from the ATL DOT and kind of built a temporary bike lane in front of the school. So it removed some street parking, and it gave us a direct route into school that we didn't have to dodge in and out of traffic or stop traffic, whatever. And after we did that, everybody loved it. It was like a great kind of demonstration thing. And we actually left it for like a whole week. So even on non-bike bus days, kids were using that temporary bike lane. And then I was like, we should do this as like a tactical urbanism project. Because, I mean, it was like such a small project that the city is not going to deal with that kind of small project right now. And so I filed as a tactical urbanism project. I'm like, we'll figure out a way to fund it. And our city councilor, who then had just come to ride with us one time on the bike bus, we were just to like meet people and see, because he lives in the neighborhood, and is now actually is a parent at Parkside. Is one of his oldest goes to preschool there. But he has some discretionary dollars every year, and he said, you know, this is like it's like $10,000 or $12,000. He's like, I'll give you some of my discretionary funds, and so we're doing the project. So we're building a bike lane in front of the school because we showed like there is demand for this. And there are other infrastructure changes that have happened in different places. People get like light timings changed or extra crosswalks or crossing guards or whatever. So like, even though people feel unsafe riding by themselves, doing it as a group demonstrates that there is demand. And then I think another really interesting question was, how has it changed your bike commuting frequency outside of school? Because it's really easy to be like, yeah, I'm gonna throw the kids on the bike, we're gonna bike to school, and then I'll come home. And basically, 50% of the responders said, we ride more outside of school because of what the bike buses showed us. And you're like, well, 50% are saying no, but that's kind of a bad number because these 46 are already saying they're doing some bike commuting outside of school. So only 4% of our people that respond saying, we don't use our bikes anymore, we only bike to school, and we sometimes do for bike bus. So like, this is a huge modal shift, and it's the adults that are saying that. It's not even we're changing the kids right there. And so I like left it's like an open comment thing, and we got lots of things like, I never would have tried commuting in Atlanta until I get to ride around with a group and like ask other parents questions. Or we've had parents that specifically bought e-bikes so that they could start doing this. And so like, honestly, this is one of the things I'm most proud of, is that like, for a few $100s, we've done this. And then there were some other answers to this, kind of about like what their kids are doing. And especially at Parkside, there are now lots of families that just send their kids to school. And they just bike to school, and they have no supervision. They just expect their third, fourth, fifth graders to be able to bike to school and get through the neighborhood, and it works. And so some of that is letting them practice, but also some of it is letting them connect with the neighborhood so that there's a couple of kids that can ride together. So the biggest, takeaways from this. One, families that ride the bike bus prioritize participation. 2 miles or less is an easy ride to school for most families and kids. 3, most bike bus families aren't everyday bike commuters to school. 4, says, while bike bus helps parents get past lots of fears and keep them from riding their kids' bike alone to school, we don't actually have direct influence on the 2 biggest concerns. And the last one, when families participate in a weekly bike bus, they increase their bike commuting outside of school. And then I have brought, this is the board that I use at open house to like sign new parents up or let people ask questions. It shows kind of our route maps, and I can kind of talk about how to do that. If you out in the lobby, I kind of used a couple of signs that I have. This year we printed what we call bike bus stop signs, so that we just put them up around the neighborhood and wrote what time the bike bus stops here. So there's specific spots that like we stop and let all the kids catch up, and if you're going to be meeting us, like a bus stop. So they're all over our neighborhood, and there's like a QR code on it, and it allows neighbors that are like out walking the dog to like scan it and find out what it is. And so I went to a neighborhood meeting because someone was walking through the neighborhood and was like, "Hey, should you come talk to her?" Like the neighborhood group or whatever, and scanned it and says me. So like that kind of just like visibility in the neighborhood helps everyone, especially helps with drivers and stuff to know that, hey, there's gonna be some kids through here. And it's funny, like I will post at the beginning of the school year, like, hey, just a reminder in like the neighborhood Facebook group, like there's gonna be a bunch of kids riding through here on Friday mornings. And like every time we do that, all the neighbors are just like, we love hearing the kids riding down the street or whatever. Like it has become part of the community, and like people come out to like wave at the kids as they ride by and stuff. And so it's like a net positive for the whole neighborhood, even if people don't have kids. Anything else? Okay, so I guess any questions?
So many questions. So I want to start a bike bus. What do I do? What are the first 3 things?
So one, enroll in their program because they'll send you much.
I'm not in
I was
Georgia
hoping you would say
at all.
that, 'cause I-
Not in Georgia. What?
So the things that like, actually on the Atlanta Bike Bus website, we have like I think it's like 5 or 10 easy steps. And it's basically the easy things that we thought of, and then they like expanded on them and said, like, this is how you do these things. But it's like,
yeah.
the steps that you should take are, 1, figure out what kind of routes make sense. And like, it's okay to have an aspirational map with like all of the routes you think would be used by your population. And then once you make that, send that out to parents, like, through the PTA. I advise going to the PTA because they're kind of the gatekeepers of a lot of information at school. But some PTAs can be a little weird about doing this kind of thing, just because everyone gets really caught up in liability and that kind of thing, which, whatever you want to think, whatever. Get that out and just say, like, if you are interested, fill this out, get a name, and we specifically grab addresses from people because we use it to plot where everyone lives. So like the first year we did this, our routes were basically this, but we tweaked them based on where everyone signed up. And once everyone signed up, we could ask them like, hey, I think this road's flat, like Google Maps says it's a flat road, but there's not always right. And so we would tweak our routes based on like, oh, there's actually a hill at the end of the street that some of the kids are gonna struggle with, let's go this other block. So make a route map, send it out to people, tweak your maps, and then I really advise using like WhatsApp as a platform to like organize, mainly because you can share locations inside of WhatsApp. So that like on Friday mornings, each of our routes has like a route captain, and it's usually somebody you'll see in like something like that. I have some different ones from before they started this, but like we have some best of these. And so like they'll share their location in WhatsApp, and so anyone on that route can see when the bike bus is passing by. So like if it's going in front of your house and if you're just joining from your driveway, you can see like, hey, they'll be in a minute, I should go outside. So that kind of thing, and then take lots of pictures and send them out to other parents, because seeing it happen is way more powerful than me explaining it to somebody. So like I have an Instagram account for this purely so that parents can see what we're doing and like be okay with it before they send their kids.
Yeah, and if, so the toolkit that we offer, obviously, if you enroll in the program, you have to be within the 20 County Atlanta Regional Commission area to get rewarded, but it is a concentrated single document of steps that you can take, templates, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. And there are resources everywhere too.
I'm trying to think about the logistics of some of the folks that would use it and how they would pick the best starting point route, and would it make, say if you're going past, like how does someone get from their home to the beginning of it? And if they do get in the car to go to the bike bus spot, are they going past the school already? So what's the point?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to wrap my head around
So
the movement.
yeah, and it really is kind of school dependent, and like where school's located in a zone, and like where the most of the kids live. And like, do I want parents driving their kid to the bike bus stop? No.
Right.
If that's the only way they can participate, great. Then that's the first step of doing it. Because like we've like struggled with like, should we? Because like on my map that I sent out at the beginning of the year, I have like some spots. It's like, hey, you can park right here. Like there's even a parking spot like icon right here. And like, I don't know if we've actually ever had anyone use them, but it's at least there to say like, hey, if you need to throw your kid's bike in the back of the van and drive here and let them out, you can do that. But there are some people, like these folks right here that are signed up on our map, are a 2-minute walk. So if they join, they are going out of their way to ride. But it's mainly so that their kids can go ride with their friends.
Right.
It's not transportation.
Sure.
It's just like a thing that they can do on Friday morning. It's fun. But yeah. So like this is the route that I lead because I live right on the street, and it's actually I have to backtrack a little bit from my house. And my son doesn't come with me. He just waits where we're going to pass. So I come here, and all of these people that live right here have to bike themselves right up here. So like we're not meeting, but just because you have to pick somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's just like you pick
It's like-
a
just like a
central
bus stop.
location. It's just like a bus stop. I mean, like the bus
The
can't go.
safest, the most visible, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And like that one happens to be where there's a protected bike lane, so we can
There you go.
can get on a sidewalk and in the bike lane while we're waiting for everybody, and we're not just like hanging out. But a lot of other places, one of our routes, this one up here, they are the earliest leaving routes, but where they meet is right beside a bakery, and so now they all meet like 10 to 15 minutes earlier and get stuff in the bakery.
Economic development.
Yeah.
I love that.
But it's just like one of those things that like all those neighbors, they might have known each other, but they weren't like hanging out or whatever, and now they all eat breakfast every Friday.
Is that little tart bake shop?
It is a little
Ah.
time. But yeah, so if you go there about 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, you'll see a bunch
Yeah.
of kids eating pastries.
And they're burning up sugar right off, so.
Yeah, and like that's another thing about like doing this is like, you know, there's this we want kids moving before school, and like I've had teachers say, this kid's crazy when he comes in my class, but on Fridays he's calm.
Burn out the energy.
Yeah, like doing something before school helps him so much.
Have you heard anything from the schools about attendance for
No.
those that participate?
We haven't really talked. I mean, like,
Are they late? You mean?
no.
I'm just saying,
Like,
is
higher.
this a higher increase in attendance?
If it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we're working on. That is a massive point of appeal when you're talking to districts.
Yes.
And that part is particularly important, especially considering that we have some major bus driver shortages
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
area as well. So,
That's all over.
So yeah,
data incoming.
yeah. The two things about that. One, so much of our district doesn't even qualify for the bus. So they're
Because you're so close.
So close. So they're their own transportation anyways.
Yes.
Their parents or kids. But I would say the vast majority of the kids that are riding aren't like that's not the demographic that schools worry about attendance wise anyways, because they are like they're joining because their parents signed them up and their
Gotcha.
parents are showing up most weeks anyways.
Yeah.
So like their parents are getting them to school anyways.
Gotcha. Understood.
And so, we talk a lot about like how do we reach the kids that rely on the bus, but like we know they have bikes. I see them riding through the neighborhood, but their parents are like getting them on the bus because they have to get them on the bus so they can get to work.
I mean, obviously, it's a benefit to the school, or the school systems, if you need less buses
Yeah.
when you already set.
Less cars on the driver line.
Yeah, and less
Yep.
cars in the driveway. You know.
And like on Friday mornings, at least at Parkside, the car line is short. Like verifiably, the car line is short because all those people that are like occasional bikers and sometimes car people, they're all on their bikes.
I know you mentioned it's usually like middle and upper class, so like in Macon, we have a lot of disenfranchised neighborhoods that would be interested in this. We do some walking school buses, and I'm sure you're volunteering, so you're a parent that has a child at this school, but like, is there a plan, or like how would you help those other communities maybe get something like this going? Like, are you, yeah.
I would say from what we offer, the startup kit that's free does really, really help.
Okay.
And it's the safety equipment that kind of gets the ball rolling. It's the open lines of communication, which can get administratively a little tough sometimes with all the questions and, you know, that whole back and forth dialogue. But they do need to know where to start. They need some guidance on the route planning portion, mapping things out, maybe even simplifying things, maybe somebody in their corner to talk to the school and to reassure the school that, you know, it's not really a liability issue, and if it is, that's, you know, something totally separate from the benefit and from this, you know, particular thing that we're trying to talk about here. So, I mean, you know, nothing really beats, if there's funding for it, nothing really beats something that a package that's free and then kind of just get them on the road.
Yes.
So are all the bike buses mostly led by parents of children at the school? Like, is that what it looks like? So do they
Yes,
volunteer?
except in Brookhaven, the Brookhaven Bike Alliance,
Okay,
which is like
yeah.
the local bike advocacy group, they kind of took a more top-down approach, just because I think there's parents that are in that, but they just said like, hey, we're gonna do this thing.
Okay.
And so that's why we don't do a ton with them, because they're doing their own thing, and like, great, less things that we have to worry about, and that's fine. I guess two things about like, because we try to run things through the PTAs, it's easier for us to go to a school and like approach their PTA and say like, we know how, like, we can help you get this organized through your PTA, and we have these ways, you know, we have points of contact for you and stuff like that. But like in the end, part of it is just purely parent driven, and like that's a barrier that like everybody has to figure out. Because like even in some of these schools that like we know that there's demand for, we just like sending email stuff. You just have to happen to find the right parent that's like, yeah, I'll do it. So like even in places that are, you know, the one in Decatur that just started today. I mean, they said they already have like 30 or 40 bikes on a rack on a normal day, just because it's a very bikeable area. But there was nothing was organized. It was just kids riding from their home. And then one other thing that we're trying to do this year to like address even just like bike access to school is the like Free Bikes for Kids Atlanta program. You can be a distributing partner if you're, you know, 501c3 or whatever, which the PTA is. And so like at our summer planning meeting, I was like, hey, can we do this through the PTA? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we're gonna apply for that this year and like try to distribute.
Makes too much sense.
Just try to find organizations that are kind of already doing the work, like Brookhaven Bike Alliance. We've had a lot of luck with religious organizations, with churches that are interested in have a congregation. A good portion of kids go to a local school. Safe Routes to School is a major partner for us. They do a lot of the legwork of collecting.
Walking school buses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any school staff that are involved at all?
No, and most of that is because they all have to be at school when we're riding, and like, cause like there are a couple of teachers that are like really like they have a T-shirt, they wear it on Fridays, but like they have to be at school, and I think they would like to join us, but I think maybe one or two of the charter schools have a little more freedom, and like the teachers, they have like one or two teachers that help organize and like maybe ride occasionally or something, but they just all have so much to do before school that they can't really. And I think it's a little bit of a gray area that like if a teacher joins in, is an official school activity, and so like it's something I haven't really pushed. I've like invited teachers like, hey, if you want to come ride, and like you can somehow get out of your duties between 7:15 and 7:45, like we would love to have you, but no one's really taken us up on it yet. You had mentioned something before about middle school riding, and we actually attempted to get, so like all of these schools, all of these schools down here feed into the same middle school and high school cluster. And so we actually were like, well, you know, we should try something in the middle school. And it's going to be a much longer commute just because, you know, it's all those. But, and we had, like, the middle school PTA was interested, but the problem is, it's a very different recruiting problem. So like in elementary school, all you do is talk to parents. Parents sign them up, they'll get them there. But at the middle school, you have to recruit the kids.
Yeah.
And so it's all like kid driven. And getting into a middle, we had volunteers that like got all the, you know, the paperwork done to like be able to go into a school and talk or whatever. But, you know, you have to get like clearances or whatever. So we like had people that had done it, and like it's the same as like going on a field trip. And so like we had enough people to do it. But getting that scheduled with admin to like go into the cafeteria, to like have a board up, to talk to kids, it's just really hard because they have so many other things that they're worried about that like us coming in is so far down the list that I just felt like I was pestering them, and I was like, we're not gonna do this. But the hope is, and I think we've already seen it working, is that as the kids age out of our elementary schools and they also go to middle school together, they just do. And one of the charter schools, like ANCS, in the Atlanta neighborhood charter school, they also have a middle school campus right over here. And I pass a group of like 4 or 5, probably like 6th, 7th, 8th grade boys every day biking to school now. They were not doing that last year. And so, I think it's like older siblings or kids that have graduated out of the elementary school that have moved on, and it's like, no, we'll keep riding. So like, at a certain point, if you just do this at the elementary school level, in 10 years it'll take care of itself.
Has there been, do you coordinate at all with your MPO? Because you did mention mode shift and a reduction in vehicles on the street, especially at a time when you have peak congestion and like your activity reduces that peak. Does that make sense?
Like you mean like or what do you call them, NPOs?
MPO, TPO?
We call them NPUs in Atlanta.
Oh, do you?
Units.
No, it's a little different, I think.
Yeah, so I think minimally, so Atlanta Regional Commission is the MPO, right, that is working with Atlanta Bike Bus. And I would say, I mean, beyond
we try to get everybody to sign up for Biketober, just to all of their miles and stuff.
which is one of our promotions.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, it's crazy how much funding is available through MPO, and they'll use it on, I think, dumb things, objectively, like economically dumb things. But yet, then you're saying, oh, we do this program, and now you've got 50 people getting to school to ride bikes.
Yeah.
Well, that's like a tremendous impact, especially when you think long-term positive externalities, like you're talking about, like we're getting people to not only do this one day a week, but then they're thinking about it for other short trips, and that's how you actually like hit mode shift. It just, I hope they're willing to listen and consider alternative activities.
Yeah, I would
I would
say the
tell you.
relationship is very positive, and in no small part, it's because of Andrew's work and parents like him. We're leveraging those numbers to secure future CMAQ funding for us. So it's invaluable. But it really does depend on that relationship, right? Like some organizations have a more difficult relationship with their MPOs, and the MPOs may not be that interested in this kind of demonstration of mode shift, so.
That slide you shared was fantastic too, on how the perception changes, willingness of people to try biking at different times. Thank you.
So